After the crazy incident and footage of Draymond Green brutally punching Jordan Poole and knocking him down leaked out, at first it was the Warriors who downplayed the entire incident and said they'll handle it internally. But after TMZ got hands off the footage, it spread like wildfire, the damage already done, lots of chaos. After a silent dead NBA summer to right before the season, every week there's a crazy headline from preseason dramas, things moving at an extremely fast pace, the video more damaging than many expected. There's likely been hundreds and even thousands of fights between NBA teammates during practices. They'll always be kept between the team and the team only. The real footage we'll never get a chance to see. The legendary stories will live on. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Let's take a look at 10 of the craziest NBA famous practice incidents that still gets talked about years later. Altercations we would have all paid heavy money to see if there was any footage available. Starting with Kenyon Martin vs. Nene, hard-nosed athletic power forward, one of the enforcers of his generation. Martin, known for his scrappiness, shares a bunch of practice fights during his tenure. One of the incidents happened with the Nuggets his first season, 04-05. Big Nene on the team. Martin recalled on the Chris Broussard podcast, Nene avoiding him during open run games, lifting. At the time, no doubt Martin the superior player. Nene, just 2 years in the league, came off averaging just under 12 and 7, around 22 to 23 years old. Martin, new to the team, traded from New Jersey for 3 first-round picks, came off an all-star appearance with the Nets the year prior. Things got super physical.
You knocked out Nene. I don't know, knocked him out.
Yeah, it was a one-hitter quitter.
Did he actually fall?
I hooked him, he grabbed it, he was leaking. Like,
okay.
They sent him to the optometrist, they thought I broke his orbital bone.
Wow. That was his rookie year,
No, that was my first year in Denver.
Okay.
I was in Jersey, and that summer I signed with Denver. After my 4th year, I signed with Denver. You know, he was starting.
Yep.
He was starting at the time, and when I signed with Denver, we were playing open gym. This is before the season started.
That's what I thought.
A busted eye, Martin being 6'9", around 240, Nene 6'11", likely 270.
So the days I would play, he wouldn't play, he'd stay in the weight room.
Really?
And the days I wouldn't come to the gym or I wouldn't play, he would play. So you know me, my thought process is like, you avoiding me.
Yeah.
So I come to the gym late one day. It's kind of getting a little chippy.
Okay.
It feels go on mine, but you ain't. I stopped playing a few times. Like, listen, you're not playing basketball, man. Chill. I told everybody, listen, the coach in the gym, the GM, there's people watching us play. It's a Christian group. It's all, they watching us open gym play. I stopped playing, man. Listen, you do it again, I'm gonna punch you in you. Straight up. No ifs, ands, I'm gonna punch you in you do it again. We go down, what he do? I'm trying to box him out, he running there with his forearm in my head. I stand him up, hit him in his chest, boom. He threw his hands up.
That was it.
Man, I turned everything into him. Hips, everything. Hook.
That was
grabbed his eye, he was bleeding, his eyeball was fluttering like it was moving. He grabbed his eye, was bleeding, and walked off.
Both played 7 seasons together from 05 to 2011. If a video of that got leaked out, likely Nene would have been the one getting traded. An absolutely tough team. Nuggets won 49 games that year, 7th seed, fell to the better Spurs. Kendall Gill vs. Jim McElvain in practice. Earlier in the Broussard podcast with K-Mark, his rookie year, recalled a big fight against the tough Kendall Gill, choking out Jim McElvain in practice.
My rookie year, My rookie year, I saw Kendall Gill choke out Jim McElvain in practice.
Really?
Yo.
Kendall was tough. I know he took all types of.
Yeah, he took karate and all of that, man. He took all that, but he choked him out in practice one day.
Gill, a 6'5" shooting guard, a vet for the Nets in his 11th season. At 32 years old, McElvain, a name many never heard of, makes this incident fascinating because he was listed 7'1", 240, center out of Marquette, his 7th and final NBA season.
Jim McElvain was wild. Elbowed him one day in practice. Elbowed him a couple times and Kendall got fed up.
Okay.
Grabbed him and put him to the ground, man, and choked like, I'll kill you in here. I'll kill you.
His very last NBA game came January 8th of 01. Unclear of the date of the incident, McElvain, taller by 9 inches, brought out in 01, averaged 1.6 points, 2 rebounds, 18 games in Martin's rookie season. Out the league by 28, Gill, after retirement, also trains heavily in boxing, actually made his first debut in 2005 at age 37, fired from his Comcast Sportsnet job in 2013 Chicago after punching former colleague Tim Doyle in the face. Even at age 52, called out Jake Paul wanting to box him after he brutally knocked down Nate Robinson. Even at that age, wanting a challenge like that, Kendall Gill certainly wasn't somebody to mess with during his NBA days. Delonte West versus Juan Wafer, very tragic situations and unfortunate circumstances West been dealing with since being out the league. Back on October 2010, West in his 7th and second to last NBA season, his lone year with the Celtics as a reserve, Wafer also only season with Boston, his second to final NBA year as well in his 5th year. The two were guarding each other in a game of 2-on-2 where West fouled Wafer repeatedly. Wafer then heads to the locker room only to be followed by West, who drew the first punch, and the two wrestled. Wafer denied any sort of incident, constantly refused to tell the media what happened, wrote on Twitter, "Today was a test. I'm a professional and will continue to conduct myself as one. God has a plan for me." Woj back in 2010 tweeted, says West believed Wafer responsible for that anonymous quote, saying it was obvious when West hasn't taken his medicines. Delonte, given his physical style of play, worked over Wafer for consecutive baskets. Shout not once but twice, "Do something about it." West turns to back him down hard before assistant coach Lauren Frank calls a foul to prevent the escalation. Asks Wafer about the case. Gotta talk to Doc and Danny.
Nothing happened. I don't know what's going on. You gotta talk to Doc and Danny.
The two eventually settled their differences. West, the better player, earned 19 minutes per game for 9 postseason games. Wafer very deep on the bench. Gary Payton and Vernon Maxwell, two alpha tough-minded hotheads, similar to today's version of having a Patrick Beverley and Draymond Green on the same team, with two guys who love to talk loud and make their presence felt. Once there's a disagreement, one person's gotta give. The 2000 Seattle Sonics, the scrap happened after a practice session, which Horace Grant and Chuck Person ended up pulling the two away. Here was Payton's version of the story on Flat TV.
Practice went a little left. Vernon was very upset about a lot of stuff at practice during the time. He would foul a lot of people, and then all of a sudden, me being a leader, I said, let me guard him, because I thought I could control him and settle him down. Me and him got into it. And then I took it to a whole nother level again. I just said, just wait till we get into the locker room and we're gonna see what happened. So I walked off the court and waited for him in the locker room. And as soon as he got in the locker room, I tried to hit him with a weight.
Throwing weights around, that's very dangerous. Horace Grant ended up getting the worst of it.
Heard Horace, and I really messed up Horace.
Horace Grant tried to get in the middle of y'all,
right?
And you end up hitting him in the head with a weight.
Yeah, hit him.
You bust his head open.
Yeah, and I felt really bad about that.
He missed what, 1 or 2 games?
1 or 2 games for it, and then I got fined for it. And
how much you get fined for that?
It was almost about a couple of $100,000.
Suffered a bruised shoulder, said he was a victim of circumstance. Maxwell says him and Shammond Williams cooking GP and Brent Barry, and Payton then elbowed Shammond and busted him open. GP fined a couple $100,000 and taking care of Horace's medical bills. Holy smokes. Many would love to see footage of that. Also worth mentioning, Maxwell crazy enough to try to stab Hakeem in the locker room during his Rocket days. Not after a practice, but during halftime of a game, because he wasn't getting the ball, and even walked into the stands one time and punched the fan during a game after making disrespectful comments about his family. Evan Turner and Lance Stephenson, the two hated each other, picked in the same draft class, same position, similar in size and skill set. ET second pick, Lance 40th, after Lance felt like he was snubbed out the All-Star team that year, hated that Roy Hibbert made it over him. Past his prime injury-prone Danny Granger, the leader and strong locker room vet, was traded for Turner. Lance hated that move, felt his role in jeopardy. Both played terrible the last 2 months of the season. That whole 2014 second half of the Pacers season was a shit show and deserved a documentary of its own due to the collapse and the Roy Hibbert 0-point games. Before ET's arrival, team 42-13, but with Turner in the lineup, indeed 14-13 overall. Lance and Evan fought right before game 1 versus the Hawks, a game where the Pacers lost and almost got upset by the 8th seed. Turner later shared that Andrew Bynum, who had his issues with Hibbert, instigated the fight. Lance must have scored and Bynum's like, oh easy, hyping up all the plays. Lance says something to Bynum like, he ain't got the heart I got. The New York fire out of Lance versus Turner from Chicago. Stephenson put his fingers in Turner's face. E.T. pushes back. Lance fakes a punch and both grab each other's necks. David West broke it up. Turner criticized Lance for his nails. No discipline from either player. Turner's lone season with the dysfunctional Pacers. Stephenson decided to take his talents to Charlotte after, only to be back a Pacer several more times. Stephenson's basketball play hasn't been the same since. Turner tweeted at Lance after the Draymond incident and said this, "How I should have done you." Not sure if it was serious or they cool now. Do they still hate each other? If anybody knows, drop a comment below. Zach Randolph, Reuben Patterson, the hike of the prime Jailblazers. Randolph saw Quintel Woods and Reuben arguing back and forth and came to Woods' defense, sucker punching Patterson in the face, causing a fractured eye socket. The beef got so bad and deadly, Oregon columnist John Canzano recalled there was a period of a few days after the incident where Z-Bo hid out at Dale Davis's house because he feared Reuben was gonna try to shoot him. Randolph received a 2-game suspension, fined $100K. Patterson couldn't retaliate due to being on probation. A man arrested 3 times between 2000 to 02. Here's audio from the Handles podcast with Arthur Carrie-Eggers. Written a whole book about the Jailblazers.
You know what he said? He said, "You just want to kill the guy." He told me that. He personally. I interviewed Reuben right after it happened and then the following season as he started the season. And even, 6 months later, he had not forgiven Zach and he not accepted his apology. And they coexisted on the team the next year.
Patterson, one of the most feared tough guys in the league, also had a lot of off-court troubles. Z-Bo, a young and coming player, the two never clicked as Randolph never liked being the target of Reuben's hazing. The apology was never accepted. Patterson traded to Denver in 06, finished his career remembered as a troublesome guy, while Randolph managed to build up a great reputation, being one of the most lovable players for the grit and grind Grizzlies. If there was cameras on Randolph and Patterson for what they were doing the next few days after the punch, would have been a series to see. Michael Jordan punches teammate Steve Kerr and Will Perdue in the face, starting with the former center on his story.
One time I hit him pretty hard, he bounced up off the floor, and he said, "Listen, you do that again, I'm going to punch you." He used a little more colorful language. So as soon as that happened, Johnny Bach, who was the assistant coach that set up our defensive schemes, immediately yelled, "Run it again." So I thought to myself, hey man, if I'm going to get punched by this guy, which I still didn't think he was going to do it, I'm going to make sure I get my money's worth. So I made sure it was an illegal screen. I don't think I ever stopped. I just ran right through him. Knocked his ass to the ground. He got up and immediately just turned around and hauled off and swung at me. And I was able to duck just enough so he didn't get a square shot in his face, but kind of hit me across the side of the temple. But again, it wasn't like it turned into a debacle. Once I realized what happened, I kind of started to step towards him. Eddie Neely, who was on the team at the time, grabbed me from behind and just kind of said, "Oh, big boy, that's probably not a good idea."
Perdue 7 foot over 240, smart for him to not truly fight back with anger. Jordan being the best player in the league in the face of the NBA, practice continued on. One of the few practice altercations with a punch being thrown. While Kerr at 6'3", a sharpshooter, pesky defender, both played the guard spot, matched up each other at practice. Jordan doing his usual trash talk. A fed up Kerr got into MJ's grill during the 72-win season training camp. Many found out during the Last Dance about the story.
One day at practice, Phil put Steve Kerr guarding me.
We were on opposite sides in a scrimmage, and he's talking all kinds of trash, and I'm pissed because, we're getting our ass kicked.
Phil sensed my aggression, but he was trying to tone me down, and he starts calling these tick-attack fouls.
Kerr resulted in a black eye. From then on, both made each other better, the start of a three-peat journey.
I have a lot of patience as a human being, but I tend to snap at some point because I'm extremely competitive too. Just not really good enough to back it up usually, but I'm going. I'm gonna fight.
He hauls off and hits me in the chest, and I just haul off and hit him right in the eye.
Kerr earned his way, becoming one of the key role players when he drained the game-winner Game 6 of the '97 finals. Those two likely weren't the only two players Jordan hit in practice. As teammates, any intense footage of Michael Jordan practices absolutely worth paying for. Bobby Portis versus Nikola Mirotic. I have a feeling reading the reports and details, this definitely was way worse than that Draymond punch. Both guys around 6'10", 250, placed the same position. Start of the 2017-18 season, On a dysfunctional Bulls team, Mirotic returned on a 2-year $27 million deal. Portis heading into year 3, year 4 for Nikola. Reading the statements, safe to assume Mirotic got brutally knocked out cold, suffered a concussion and fractures, 2 broken bones, sent to the hospital. Insane damage, 8-game suspension for Portis. Reports states there was a lingering sense that Mirotic came into training camp feeling entitled, didn't sit well with many of the younger teammates. The two had issues over the years in practice. Portis did apologize. Mirotic didn't return to practice till November 13th, nearly a month later. Made his season debut December 8th, traded to the Pelicans February 1st. After making trade demands, the two didn't speak for weeks since Portis apologized. After playing 25 games, Mirotic returned overseas after the 2019 season, while Portis made a name for himself for the 2021 champion Bucks. Portis angry Mark Stein brought up his name, but mentioned on Woj report that Nikola was the one charging at Portis twice. Bobby himself said he got 8 games for defending himself, and is a lot different than the Draymond situation. Kobe Bryant versus Shaquille O'Neal. At the prime of their beef and differences, arguably 2 of the best players in the game looked like they were only halfway through their dynasty run and would win at least 2 or 3 more titles together. Shaq, being the physical specimen, most unstoppable player in the game, took his size and athleticism for granted. Complacent, could have been the best player ever if he had Kobe's work ethic. Bryant himself, the 13th pick, lived up to every bit of his Jordan comparisons, hype, and more. Practiced his craft at the gym. 2 opposite personalities. Phil Jackson, honestly remarkable for having them play together and win multiple titles to limit the hostility. Ongoing pettiness. Shaq getting surgery right before the start of the 03 season rubbed Kobe the wrong way. When Shaq started a media war, Kobe warned Phil Jackson he won't hesitate to fire back. The two fortunately settled their differences and had a long honest sit down after retirement before Kobe's tragic passing. Here's their talks on having their first fist fight.
The first time we had our first fight, and you looked and said, okay, this is crazy.
I did say that.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
You did.
crazy.
You did. Anyway, we were playing a pickup game. We was doing a lockout season, Southwest College, playing a pickup game. We're on opposite teams.
Right.
And trash talking.
Yes.
And you kept saying, yeah, take that little. I'm like, I'm looking around. Oh, me.
Yes.
Right? And I said, well, hold on, ain't gonna be too many more of those little,
Yeah, I remember that.
And what'd you say? Well, what you gonna do about it? Well, what you gonna do about it? And then that's, the next thing I knew, I saw a big hand coming this way, and I remember going this way, and I remember throwing some lollipop, Golden Polynese came and caught, and then they all just kind of broke us apart, broke us up.
Absolutely vintage story on the scrimmage during the lockout season. 20-year-old Kobe going toe-to-toe with prime Shaq. 99% of players would have shit their pants getting into any altercations with the big Diesel. Former teammate Golden Polynese explained what happened if the punch connected.
You once saved Kobe Bryant's life. Is this true?
I don't know if I saved his life, but I saved him from harm.
Okay, explain.
And that was between he and Shaquille O'Neal.
All right.
The famous fight between he and Shaquille. I was the guy that stopped the punch, basically. That
really?
Pretty much annihilated Kobe if it had landed.
Oh.
Yeah, so we were summertime playing basketball at a workout, and I still remember the Laker personnel over in the corner. Everybody, we just playing, rubbing down, watching us play, and they get into an argument. And next thing I know, I'm thinking it's kind of like just joking around, banter between players, and it's getting real serious. And this is my team, man. This is my team. All the foul language being thrown out there, and then they square up. And I'm like, come on, guys, break it up. As I'm doing that, Kobe, I can't remember what he said or what he did, but Shaquille reeled back and threw it, and I grabbed him and parted the punch, hit me right here, and then the rest followed through on Kobe. And then all of a sudden I'm like,
you're holding Shaq.
I'm holding Shaq.
That's a
and
job.
I'm fighting for life right now because I'm like, I can't hold this big dude. That's when he was rude.
Journalist Jackie McMullen shared a story when Brian Shaw was called by Devin George for emergency purposes during Kobe and Shaq's final season together. Needed him in Los Angeles ASAP because Shaq told Devin he was gonna kill Kobe. Shaw, super close with Shaq, could calm him down, convince O'Neal at the practice facility to wait in the theater where the team watched film, urged teammates Karl Malone, Gary Payton, and Horace Grant to join Shaq to de-escalate the situation. Shaw then got a hold of Kobe before walking inside. Kobe sarcastically says, "Oh, I'm scared." Shaw says, "Maybe you should be scared." The two settled their differences for hours. Only painting these scenarios in our heads is how we'll envision these incidents. Latrell Sprewell famously choking head coach PJ Carlesimo, the best player on Golden State. The two didn't get along, tensions built up, the team struggled. December 1st, 1997, this will always be ranked one of the top practice incidents in NBA history. Tensions and anger built up throughout the season. After calling out his star player in practice, being blamed in front of everybody for the team's losses, feeling singled out, the 27-year-old had enough and just simply lost it.
Man, Sprewell was on the other end shooting, doing that rapid fire drill, and where PJ came down and told Priest to put something on the effing pass on Muggsy. And man, Sprewell just looked like, what was he talking about? And then he come back, and then he put a little explicit behind it, put something on the bucket pass to Muggsy. And I guess Sprewell just had enough of it, and then all of a sudden he just slammed the ball. What the fuck are you talking? I'm tired of you fucking with me.
Put his hands on the 48-year-old's throat. Sprewell continued the assault after being separated, went out, then came back 20 minutes later, ran out, and put his hands on PJ again.
We just heard a ball slam, and the next thing you know, Sprewell has PJ around his neck. Eventually pulled away by his teammates, Sprewell left the court. 20 minutes later, he returned and launched a second attack on Carlesimo. Then the next thing you know, he leaves and he comes back and we're all gathered around and Sprewell's just peed off.
An absolute travesty of a decision. Served the longest non-drug related suspension in NBA history at the time. The rest of his 3-year, $24 million contract voided. Sprewell deemed the punishment too harsh and said he wasn't choking PJ that hard. I mean, he could breathe. Never played another game for Golden State again. After that first choke, practice still went on without Sprewell, only to rock his coach with an overhand punch, yells, "Trade me!" Then realized he was missing a flip-flop and walking with one bare foot, yells, "Give me my damn shoe." The after-practice media session, when asked what happened to PJ's neck and brought up a bad shave that might have grazed him as a joke, Carlesimo's worst ever day as head coach.
He had huge marks right along the sides of his neck like this. I made a joking comment, did you cut yourself shaving today? Did you have a bad razor? And he looked at me and he said, no comment.
Damage irreparable. That wasn't the first Sprewell altercation. Went at it with former teammates Bryant Houston in '94, and 2 years prior to the PJ incident, fought with Jerome Kersey, left practice and returned with a 2x4 broad, restrained by teammates when he said he would return with a gun. Officials kept Kersey in the locker room for 3 hours. Growing up in the tough environment, the younger Sprewell had some crazy dark moments during his time with Golden State. There's been way more practice fights and several ones that's still untold and kept between the team and former players, while the Gilbert Arenas gun incident took place in the locker room and Tony Allen punching OJ Mayo on the plane. Insane to say, there's also been plane altercations. Luckily, nothing too serious on those. Thank you so much for watching this video. Which one of these NBA practice crazy incidents would you pay over $1,000 to see? If you can get footage of, let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching. I love all of you. See you next time.